So in this video, we are going to take a look at some basic Excel tips that we're going to assist you in completing assignments for me and hopefully in any of your other uses of Excel in your professional life or maybe in school. You can see this is a very short list. We're going to talk a little bit about text boxes. We're going to talk about the cardinal rule of Excel and not typing in numbers into equations and instead you reference them. Using cell naming, which some of you may or may not have done, and then we'll take a peek at the function builder so you can see how much easier it'll make you your job if you're trying to build an equation of some kind. So let me open up Excel here, and we'll just kind of make up a little example here. First of all, text boxes. A lot of times you want to type in some labels, or I type in instructions for you guys on assignments, and we do that just hitting insert and then text box, and then you can draw a text box really anywhere on the sheet here, and I'm going to do that and type out some just random instructions here just to show you how this might work. Let's say we want to calculate how long will it take you to get to Yellowstone Park if it is 800 miles away. And you can see my typing skills are not fabulous, but 800 miles away. And you plan to stop 1.5 hours for meals. Also, we want to know, let's say, assume you can drive 70 miles per hour normally, but only 35 miles per hour through construction zones, which anybody who's ever driven to Yellowstone knows there's no possible way to get there without driving through construction zones. And you anticipate there being 75 miles of construction. So there's our basic problem here. And you can see I can resize this text box, but that's what we've got. Now the most straightforward way to do this, maybe if I just pick a cell down here, we could solve this pretty easily. We could say this time is going to be equal to the miles I'm going to travel normally, which if of the 800 miles, 75 is of construction, that means 725 miles is normal roads, and I divide that by my speed, the 70 miles per hour, we'll get my time through that area. Plus, I'm going to travel 75 miles at 35 miles per hour instead. Plus, I'm going to have 1.5 hours of meal time. And you can see I get a nice round number, and we'll add a couple decimal places here, of 14. So 14 hours would be the answer to this. But doing it this way, we have completely, essentially, eliminated the benefits of using Excel. We may as well have done this on our fingers and toes or using a calculator. Instead, let's build a little table that will allow us to calculate this value and also allow us to change the variables, because you can see by doing it this way I've kind of violated the cardinal rule of Excel by just typing numbers directly into the cell, which means I can't see what they are without clicking on the cell. They're up here. And I also can't easily adjust the parameters. What if I decided to take a different path to Yellowstone Park that was 920 miles instead? Or I changed an assumption for the speed I could drive, or how long I'm going to eat along the way, things like that. I would have to rewrite this whole equation. So instead, let's delete this, and let's just build the parameters that we need. Let's say we need total distance. We need miles of construction. We need to know our regular speed and our construction speed. And we'll call it time for meals. We need those things. Now, if you double-click the right border of column C, you can see it'll auto-size, for those of you who didn't know that already. And we can now enter our values in here. So we know the total distance, 800 miles, miles of construction, 75, regular speed, 70 miles an hour, construction speed only half that, and we're planning to sit 1.5 hours eating meals. So total distance is in miles. I'll put some labels over here, and same with this. And then we have miles per hour on both of these parameters and hours here. So now I have it laid out nicely, and maybe down here I can say total time. And now I can say my total time is now the total distance of regular travel, which is going to be equal to, and I have to do a little math here, my total distance traveled minus the miles of construction. In that area, I'm going to drive 70 miles an hour. So there's the first time. And then I'm going to drive 75 miles in construction at the 35 mile per hour rate. And then I'm going to have an hour and a half of sitting enjoying a meal at the side of the road or at a restaurant or something. And you can see, boom, exactly the same result we had. But now we can do some interesting things like change maybe our route, 950 miles, but maybe that direction only has 10 miles of construction. And we're able to drive faster on that route, and the construction isn't as bad, so we expect to drive 50 miles per hour there, and we can see a time. And you can see I can now change these parameters, and it automatically updates. The beauty of using Excel. But when I click on this, you can see what I get. I get kind of this mess here, and I'm not sure, it's difficult to read exactly what's going on. If it's on the same sheet like this, meaning the equation is on the same sheet as the inputs, when you double click that cell, it color codes everything, so it's pretty easy to see what's going on. But imagine if I was doing the calculation on another sheet. Let's say I've got sheet 2 here, and I want to, let me blow this up to the same size that we have the other sheet, just for consistency purposes. Let's say instead I'm going to do this calculation on sheet 2. Well, this is going to be equal to, and I go back to sheet 1, my total distance minus my construction distance divided by my normal rate plus my distance of construction divided by the rate through the construction plus my time eating meals. And looks like I messed up my format here just a little bit. Equals. I see. One little error there. Actually, two little errors. Get my parentheses in there properly. So there I get the exact same number. So I have the exact same equation here, but look at this monstrosity. Now it's referencing a sheet and a cell, and I'm looking at this, and when I double click on it, it doesn't show me the nice color coding that I had over here. You see, if I go back to sheet 1, double click, I get the color coding. Back on sheet 2, I just get this horrible mess. This is where cell naming comes in. This is where there's a tremendous benefit. So I'll leave that there just so we can compare that mess to the beauty that I'm going to display here. And what I'm going to do here is, instead of having these be called D6, D7, D8, you can see up there, I'm going to rename these with a description. And I can do that a few ways. I can actually go up into this box and type a description. But Excel has a really nice feature. If I highlight the labels here and the values, so just highlight this area and click on formulas, you have this selection called Create from Selection. And if I click that, it will say create names from values in, and it defaults to the left column. And that's what I want to use. I essentially want to name these cells these names here. So if I click OK, look what happens. I've now named all of these. As I click them, you can see the name change up here. And I can name them in bulk instead of having to rename them individually. Now, one thing to be aware. If you name them after writing the equation, it doesn't change the equation. But if you write the equation after you've named it, look what happens. And I'm going to display this on sheet 2. So sheet 2, we're trying to get rid of this obnoxious looking equation. So let's go here and do the same calculation, but watch what happens. This is now equal to the total distance minus the miles of construction divided by my speed plus the construction distance divided by the speed through the construction plus the time for meals. Exactly the same number, but look at this. It's very easy to see what's going on here. You can see total distance in miles minus the miles of construction. So there's my total non-construction distance divided by my regular speed will give me the time through that section. Miles of construction divided by my construction speed. This is just so much more elegant and easy to decipher after you've done it. So the key, of course, is you must name the cells before you build the equation. It will not update. You can see this other equation still has the ugly version of it. It's referencing the same cells, but it's using the default references rather than these new named references that I've got. So that's very valuable. The last thing that we need to look at is the function builder. The function builder, up here, you can see this. This is what's called the function builder. I didn't really have a function to reference here, but you are going to use some functions in the assignments that I have you do in this class, not only in this particular set of chapters, but in others. And the function builder is a nice way to look up functions you may not be totally familiar with. So if I click on this, one of the functions that's used regularly is this payment function, or the NPER function. If you just type the function up here and click go, it'll bring it up, and I can click OK, and look what it does. It takes the function and actually breaks it up into all the variables you need to supply to come to that particular solution that function is trying to perform for you. In this case, the number of periods in a series of payments, and we'll see how we're going to use that in a loan example here elsewhere in the course. But so you can actually build the equation this way instead of building it in the parentheses up top, or what I find even more valuable is right here. This is a link to the help section for Excel, and it'll open up this box right here, and there's a long narrative description of exactly what this function does and exactly what are the inputs that you need to supply. It even has a link right here. When you get to this, if I click this right here, it will download a link here in Excel, and mine is a little bit broken here. Let me try that one more time. If I click on this, take just a minute to download. Well, that part seems to be broken on my computer. So, no, here it is. It just took a little while to come up. So here we go. Here is an actual demonstration in Excel of the use of that particular function. So you see how I got to that. Let me minimize this. I got to that by going to the help section on this function and scrolling down to the example. And in the example here, I click on this little Excel symbol, and it will download an Excel document with this function being used, so you can see exactly how you would put this together in an Excel spreadsheet. So hopefully these tips will give you a hand in performing some of the assignments we're about to do. This was kind of a little nonsensical problem here, but you can see how we could change any of these variables here and have a total time calculation. If you have any questions on this sheet, on this worksheet, or anything else as we prepare to do Excel homework assignments, just let me know.